If he comes to me walking, I come to him running. وَإِنْ أَتَانِي يَمْشِي أَتَتْهُ هَرْوَلَةً. Here's the thing I kind of want to touch on in this video. We want Allah's blessings and favors, but we seem to make no effort to try and earn it. Right, and I think that's an important thing actually, that term earning it, because I think some of us, we live our lives almost in this privileged mindset, thinking that Allah is just supposed to give us certain things. Like for example, like we think if we make our salah, for example, if we stay away from certain sins, that like we doing Allah a favor, and hence, he's supposed to, pay us back, or he's supposed to give us our rewards, or he's supposed to protect us and bless us and whatever. And forget that these are blessings, these are things that we should be grateful for, not necessarily things we should expect. SubhanAllah, obviously I think there's levels to it, because there's those who maybe do engage in ibadah and do certain good deeds, stay away from bad deeds, and then they have certain expectations. But then I think there's another level of individuals who do nothing and then still expect Allah to kind of give them things. Another thing I want to touch on is, for many of us, we have no spiritual connection to Allah, and we're also wondering why that is. Right? Linking to the previous point, we make no efforts. Many of us, we make no efforts, but we're wondering, why is it so difficult? Why is it so difficult for me to make those efforts to get closer to Allah? Why is it so difficult for me to just open up my Quran for a little bit every day? Why is it so difficult for me to make that 2 extra sunnah salah? And this is the thing, I think it's such a blessing, and it's a dua genuinely that I think is like worthy of making. Like to make that dua, oh Allah, grant me to like love the things which you love, because that's a blessing, man. I mean, to think that you're just going to do what you want to do on a daily basis, kind of live a life in accordance with your desires, and then all of a sudden Allah is going to put this feeling within you that all of a sudden you want to get closer to Allah. It's going to start with some sacrifices, and it's almost wild to think that is how many of us view it. It's like, subhanallah, making time for Allah, making time for ibadah, making time to do things that are pleasing to Allah. Let's be real, it does almost feel like we have to sacrifice to do that. In like a wild turn of events, like our purpose on this earth is to worship Allah alone, yet we feel like we need to make time to do that. It's like, that is not the way it's supposed to be. Those acts of ibadah, those actions and things that we do to try and get closer to Allah, those are things that are meant to be there regardless. And we make time for whatever else you want to do in regards to like worldly material things. But let's be real, that's not the way we treat our time, it's not the way we treat our lives. But subhanallah, work needs to be done. I think obviously many flaws for all of us. Inshallah, starts with an intention, and this hadith I think is very helpful. Inshallah, I'll probably link the full hadith so you can read into it, inshallah. But essentially, hadith speaks about how when you make that initial effort to get closer to Allah, Allah will then start to make things easy, and He will almost, you'll make it easy for that connection to be established once you make the effort. So inshallah, I think it just starts with an intention. It starts with an intention, as always, a genuine, deep down intention. Then you start to make the sacrifices, you start to make the effort to get closer to Allah, and inshallah, in due time, those acts of ibadah starts to become easier, it starts to become easier to put down certain bad habits. It starts to building a relationship with Allah. It starts to feel natural. You start to want to do it instead of it feeling like it's hard work, or like it's something like some sort of burden or something. In conclusion, Allah says in the Quran, "And I did not create the jinn and mankind except that they should worship me." In another verse, Allah says, "And those who turn away from my remembrance, indeed they will have a difficult life, or a depressed life, a life filled with hardships. And also they will be raised on the day of resurrection blind." So inshallah, just make the effort to at least try and take one beneficial lesson or reminder away from this video. May Almighty bless, guide and protect us, inshallah.